All right, welcome back, everyone. If you remember several weeks ago or a month ago, back to my compressor startups 2020 video, this particular air conditioner had a spot in the video as the loudest air conditioner I've ever experienced. It's a 8,000 BTU Frigidaire unit from around 2008, time frame 2009. It's an R22 unit. It does cool very, very well, but as I mentioned, it was an exceedingly loud unit. So after that video, I decided to take it apart and have a look at the rubber grommets under the compressor, because this thing was a true window shaker. It would vibrate itself, the window, and most of the house it's attached to. It was pretty bad. So I figured maybe take a look, like I said, replace the grommets or something to minimize some of the vibration possibly. So I did that. I didn't have to replace them. They were actually in fine shape, but I was able to adjust the compressor itself, how it sits on the grommet, so it sat evenly on all three, and reassembled it, and it made a enormous difference in the amount of vibration. It's still loud from the air noise, but the amount of vibration transmitted from the unit to the house in the window, probably it's got to be a 75 or 80% reduction. It was an enormous difference. So to kind of illustrate, in front of me here I have a compressor out of a roughly 3-year-old dehumidifier that lost all its gas over last winter. So I took it apart, tried to find the leak, never did find it. I've spent many an hour with soapy water and in water with the condenser and evaporator and even all the compressor plumbing and compressor itself. Never found the leak, but it lost all its gas regardless. So, but underneath we have the 3 rubber grommets, and you can see they're quite soft. I mean, this compressor is a fairly small compressor. I think it's about a 4,000 BTU rating, but you can kind of get an idea of how much isolation, how much absorption it should have sitting in the unit. But what I found on the Frigidaire was that the compressor was actually kind of sitting a little bit crooked, if you will, where one side was tending to have the grommet much more compressed, and the other side was really not doing much at all. And some of the plumbing, like the accumulator there, was actually kind of very close to the condenser fan shroud. So with a little creative adjustment and just kind of tweaking the plumbing lightly to the compressor and just kind of gently maneuvering it on the grommets, I didn't have to remove the bolts or anything. I was able to get the compressor to sit more evenly on all 3 of the grommets, and then the plumbing was a little bit of a space now to the condenser fan shroud. So everything was kind of in its happy place, so to speak, and it made an enormous difference. So you can kind of see when you're looking at your unit, you'll have your mounting stud. This is from the dehumidifier. It's got the bolt for the bottom. This will go through the top or the grommet here, and then you'll have a flange nut or something like this on top, and you should have, there we go, a little bit of clearance above the grommet. It shouldn't be squashed down on top of the rubber. You should have some amount of gap. How much gap is not critical, but you need to have some, and it needs to be relatively even all the way around the compressor. So you don't want to have almost no gap over here, and then you come over here, and then you've got a 1/4 inch of daylight sticking through. You want to make sure that it's even, so you can adjust the compressor until it's sitting even on all the mounting bolts, and then fire it back up and give it a try. So I was rather successful on this one. I was very pleased, actually, surprisingly so. So while we're here, we'll quickly crank it up on fan. Turn it on here. The wonders of a remote. The only nice thing about this is it's got a remote, otherwise it's about worthless. But that's low fan. And I did bring my trusty sound meter up today. it on slow response and C scale, and roughly the same distance from our yesterday's experiment with the Amana 5000 50 BTU. You can see this one's about 67 dB on just fan. I'm probably about 3 feet away. Alright, now I'll crank up the compressor. Let's see here. Cool. Oddly enough, the fan makes so much noise on this thing that you can't really hear the compressor over it. We're still at 67 decibels. So, I mean, there's a little bit of vibration. I can, hear it, just a the low frequency kind of compressor rumble, but the fan noise is still the dominant noise now. That's how much of a difference. I didn't get a reading before I fixed it of decibels, but yeah, it was bad. It was obnoxious. So, any of you guys out there with a window unit of either old vintage or new vintage that tends to shake more than you think it should, have a look at the compressor mountings and see what kind of shape they're in. They do go bad with age on old units. They get hard, they get dry. Even on the Amana over there, when I replaced the compressor sound blanket, I replaced the mounting grommets for the compressor and also straightened up the compressor as well on the mounting grommet so it sat evenly. And that cut down a lot of the vibration on that unit as well, made a nice improvement. So it seems like the bigger improvement is just from making sure that the compressor is sitting evenly on the mounts, more than actually replacing the mounts themselves, unless they're just totally shot, falling apart. If they're split or really compressed and squashed down, you can replace them. They can be found. You can get them on eBay. You just kind of have to know what you're looking for. I found the mounting rubbers for the Tecumseh AE reciprocating compressors work really well for these small rotaries. They're about the same weight, and vibration absorption characteristics seem to work pretty well. You may need to find thicker or thinner ones. They're not the easiest to find, but they can be had. So, hope this helps out somebody that's got a window shaker that lives up to its name, and maybe you can get a little bit quieter. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for the next one.